Well, thanks for coming out, folks. My name's Mark. I'm the business research librarian for the Spokane Public Library. And I think that I know you two, but if you guys want to just quickly go around the table and give me a 30-second blurb of why you thought you would spend some time coming out here today.
Yeah, Heather Hartman with Schooling Mitchell, so I opened a local franchise here, and so what I do is I help businesses reduce costs in 6 different product categories. So why I'm here today is I need additional contacts and resources and databases, and I wanted to learn from that. So.
Okay. Is there a particular industry or type of business or size of business that works well for you?
Sure. I was thinking vertical segmentation. As far as size-wise goes, it doesn't really matter. My point of contact were influencers or CFOs. They're the ones that would help me to move forward with, the things that I need in order to be able to consult with.
Sure. Okay. We have some tools for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Nate Elliott. I'm the president of the Venture Capital Club at Gonzaga. With Shoutouts.
Yes. Okay.
And basically this opportunity came up to learn about Pitchbooks and all that good stuff. So we opened it up to the club, and there might be a few more of us showing up.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing it around. Yeah.
I'm Christine. I'm also a law student and part of the Venture Capital Club. It's here for the same reasons as Nate.
Okay. Awesome. Well, full disclosure, my wife works at Gonzaga Law, part-time, yeah. She runs the Moderate Means program. Maggie Shaw?
I'm a legal engineer.
Oh,
That's
well,
awesome.
there you go. Making connections, left and right, yeah. All right.
Yes, sir. Let's make me, right?
Yep, we're just going around the table quickly, shouting out who we are and what brought you here.
Great, okay. Born here, raised here, moved to the west side, 25 years in the special needs community, director of facilities for a long time, and transitioning into corporate training in empathy and emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So there you go. Then Clay Serna, owner of Sweetbox, pro-gluten activist, and well, it usually gets a bigger. I'm a baker.
Yeah, right.
And I'm here to just learn about some new tools because I noticed in the description that there are some new databases available. So
Yes, there are, yeah. Excellent.
My name is Alex. I work for a logistics company here in Spokane and just looking for ideas to maybe strike out a mile.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll go ahead and just dive right in. So laying some just kind of basic ground rules and establishing shared common knowledge. Everything that we're going to talk about today, it's free. So there are different types of free, like, hey, honey, I found the couch on the sidewalk type of free. And sometimes people are kind of excited about that, sometimes not. But all of these tools that we're going to run through today, I would say, just kind of the rough approximation of this set of resources that you guys have available to you at your disposal. We're paying about $100,000 per year for these subscriptions. So there's a free, founded on Google free, which can sometimes be really awesome, or there's free as in your tax dollars come to me, I try to go out, find good stuff, buy it, and then make it available to everyone. But it works out in a way so that you don't have to carry the full cost of some $25,000 a year subscription that we can all share. So it works out pretty well. So with that, I think what I'll do is just give you guys the 90,000 foot overview, the Mach 7 flyby. If there are tools or resources where you think, man, that looked really intriguing, down here in the lower right-hand corner, you have a link to my calendar, and I usually have that filled out a couple weeks in advance. But if there's a slot that's listed there, and I'll show you what this looks like. Right now, I've got all of 2 slots left for, actually even just 1, I think. Yeah. Nope, 2. There we go. So 2 slots available for next week. So next the 29th at 2:30. If that works for you, just click sign up, put in your information. No need to email me, no need to call. I'll just get a notification because if it's on there, I've set it aside. One quick user tip, I have a volunteer that I'm working with. His name's Alex. So if you see a session there that says you're meeting with Alex, you'll show up and you'll see a guy that doesn't look like me. So just be aware that that's the scene there. So with that, don't worry so much about, oh, he clicked on this button, he went over there, he pulled down that drop-down menu. Should you want to get to that level of detail, set up an appointment with me and we can take that deeper dive. All right, with that, let's see here. I think since you mentioned Pitchbook specifically, and Clay, this is one of the new ones that we have available. So we are the only public library in the nation that Pitchbook gives a subscription to. Part of it's some work on my part, but part of it's just dumb luck, and Spokane being just the right size of a community where we're big enough as an institution at the library to have a budget to work with, but we're not so big of a community that Pitchbook looks at us and says, there's no way we're going to give you guys a subscription. We make a lot of money selling this stuff, and you just want to give it away for free? No way. So we're able to kind of float right in between those two boundaries there. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at Pitchbook, just right off the top, because it is a pretty unique thing, and it doesn't always just fit exactly within kind of the flow of kind of my normal presentation here. But if you come to the downtown branch, and you actually do need to set up an appointment with me to get access to this, because that was part of the licensing agreement with Pitchbook, is that I would be the sole keeper of the login credentials, which is kind of annoying in terms of trying to get people access to it. But that's the agreement that we were able to hammer out with Pitchbook. And they were very reluctant. Like I said, they said, hang on one second here. Can't type and talk at the same time. So Pitchbook, they were very reluctant to give us a subscription. It took about 2 solid months of emailing back and forth and calling, and finally the appeal that I think broke through to them was that I said, look, take a look at your Spokane sales data. Are you selling subscriptions to Pitchbook to anyone here in town? And they said, well, no, actually, we're not. So there was that I'm not horning in and cannibalizing whatever sales they do have. And then also I said, look, I'm offering to pay you almost $19,000 per year to be your outside sales guy in town, so I can come out, talk to you guys, and I can go talk to the folks at Eastern's MBA program, and they're super stoked with this type of data. But nobody else here in town has access to it. So they're like, well, when you put it that way, all right, we'll give it a try. So it's been working out really well. Pitchbook, if you aren't already familiar with it, it's a database that is populated by businesses that have received capital. They've raised capital in some way, some manner. So venture capital, angel investing, private equity, those are the main pieces. It also captures buyouts. That gets folded in as well. But your average kind of mom and pop coffee shop, that doesn't tend to show up here in Pitchbook. So we can either search for those companies within a particular space, or we can look for the investors in those companies. So basically you're just looking at the same pile of data, but through a couple different ends of the pipe. So with that, let's just run a couple quick searches here as kind of an example. So if we come over here under this little search icon, and are you guys able to see well enough? Okay, all right. Come over here under the magnifying glass, and then if we go to search for companies and deals, this is their key fields page, and Pitchbook just gives you way more filters than most mere mortals can imagine dealing with. So if we just click here under deal types, we can say, all right, we only want seed level funding for companies that have received funding in the last 18 months that are on the West Coast in the biotech firm, in the biotech world. So you can get really fine-grained and detailed with these searches. Pitchbook, it does cover the entire globe. Most of my tools that I have access to are more domestically focused, but this is global data. So if we hop in here and let's just use manufacturing just as an example, but we can just know that you can say, all right, I want manufacturing just as a whole, but you can get down to, you know, whatever particular kind of slice within that vertical that you might be interested in. So we could say, all right, we're looking for manufacturers. All right, so now we're down to 108,000 companies. Great, getting close. Geographically, we can say, all right, we only want companies that are located here on the West Coast, and we can also say only companies that are headquartered here. So if it's a Belgian company, but they have an office in Portland, it'll weed those ones out. Let's take a look here to just say within the last year, companies that have been funded to 2019, come on. All right, so now we're down to 569, which actually is not too bad of a number to work with. All right, so for these 569 companies in the manufacturing world, what you get here on this very first page is kind of the broad overview. So for this entire universe, what does it look like historically going back in time? As you scroll down the page here, more kind of capital breakdown. We can show it by industries versus verticals there, play around with that. But should you want to get to the actual detail of who these companies are, if we click on the Companies tab. All right, so here are your 569 manufacturers. Let me zoom in here because it's probably a little hard to see. There we go. So this data just goes on down the page listing out the companies, but as you scroll over here to the right, you'll get how many rounds of financing have they gone through, you know, are they still raising money, various data points there in terms of kind of financial stuff. And the last time I ran this search, I actually weeded out a whole bunch of other information that you can have here, but there's contact information with names, emails, phone numbers, really hard to get. I was working with a guy, this was a couple months ago, he's in the fintech world, and we were doing some search for fintech companies and investors in fintech, and I pulled up one of these profiles, and he's like, what? Good Lord, I just spent the last 3 weeks solid looking for that guy's email address, and now we just found it in 13 seconds.
Can you filter that as well too to CFO or CEO? Or how
Yeah, you can. It gets a little, short answer, yes.
Okay.
Longer answer, awkwardly. Yeah, so one of the things that you can do is Pitchbook they agreed to give us 1,000 downloads per month, and so we can, and with a cap of 500 on any given day. So we could download 500 of these companies, dump them into spreadsheet, and just grab all of the data, and then you could just do a Control F for CFO. Pitchbook doesn't do the greatest job in letting you do those title type of searches for companies, but let's just dive in here to one of these. I have no idea who this 3DEO is, but they've raised a Series A. They've got 11 employees as of last year, and back in 2016 they got a grant from the National Science Foundation. Okay, that's kind of a big deal. Down below, they're a metal 3D printer. Okay, all right. So there's their website. Those are the industries and verticals that they're in. There's Matt, he's the CEO and the board member. Address, email, phone numbers, similar companies, but then as you scroll on down past the comps and how fast they're growing, who's on their team, and here you can start looking for, often the CFO will show up there. So you can search for the team members there. Who sits on their board? Down below, if we jump down to the investors, we can see, oh, well, Alpha Edison. I have no idea who they are, but we can click on Alpha Edison, jump over to the funder side. And then we can see that, all right, Alpha Edison, they're founded back in 2016. They've got 37 active investments going. Median round for the amount of money that they throw out there. Nico Bazzi. Sounds like an upstanding guy. Give him a call and then say, hey, Nico, I see that you're in the 3D printing space. I've got this great idea for a 3D bagel printer, and it's just going to revolutionize. Not quite there yet.
Only 2020.
Only 20. Well, damn it, I want my jetpack. All right. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of Pitchbook. I'm still like kid in the candy store with this stuff. Because this gets us to a universe of data that I knew was out there, but really hard to track down.
So one thing I was actually going to recommend, because I did a similar thing when I was doing real estate, is that if you just download as much raw data as possible, you can build the search engine inside of Excel, and then just basically have a single page where you can cross-reference other multiple pages behind it. So I'm just saying that, like, since we have limited downloads, then you with the shotgun approach, put it in Excel, then you can go specific and then go back to Pitchbook to look up specific information. Once you have the ability to set a key and search terms. Yeah, because especially if you're talking about as many columns as you have there where they're listing the CEOs, where they're based, the HQ and everything. I mean, having all of that Excel can handle millions of rows of data at one time. So you don't even need to build a macro for it or anything. So that's what I'm saying, because I do understand why they probably put a cap on the downloads on it. They don't want all of this data being siphoned out somewhere.
Yes, they're very concerned about their data getting released out into the wild. And when you do download it, there's a little disclaimer at the top of the spreadsheet saying this is only to be kept for 30 days and then you're supposed to delete it because they're worried about it migrating around the world, but also their other piece was they are constantly updating this data, so they don't want their name attached to outdated data. So they're pretty proud of what they've put together, and they don't want data that's 2 years old floating around and people saying, oh, I got this data from Pitchbook, and someone else looking at it and saying, that's crap. That does nothing. So, but yeah, in terms of the download, just to quickly kind of give you a sense of, I'll just grab a couple of these at random, but just know that you can grab a whole bunch. So if we select a couple, and when you go to download to Excel, if we say grab all columns, Pitchbook doesn't have this span of data for every single listing, but you've got 137 different possible columns of data that you can download, and that's a lot to sort through. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of searching for either, like I said, either companies within a particular space or the investors in that same space. But just know that you can always just jump directly to an individual company or an individual investor, which is sometimes just fun to kind of peek behind the curtain to see, hey, the Kohl's company. Who are they? And Steve Rector, oh, he's their CFO, and they're here in Spokane, and they own the Spokesman, if you didn't know that, and various other entities around town. But they've got 27 active investments going. We can click on that and figure out, okay, so they gave $290,000 to Ag Energy Solutions back in 2010. Let's actually sort this to get the new. S2 Media. Doesn't say how much they gave them, but funded them just a couple of weeks ago. And from there, you can just bounce through to say, MedCurity, who are they? Now you're back on the company side. Who else is funding MedCurity? So they've got 3 total investors. Oh, they did a Kickstart and also Mind to Market. Oh,
Actually, that was going to be one of my questions, is that if Kickstarter is wrapped up.
yeah, yep,
So,
yep, exactly. So that's Pitchbook in a nutshell. And it, you know, with our Bloomberg terminal at the downtown library, we're one of 2 public libraries in the nation that have a Bloomberg terminal. It's us in New York Public Library. But Bloomberg focuses almost exclusively on publicly traded companies. So for this private world, Bloomberg really has nothing. So for us to be able to kind of pair those 2 together, super powerful kind of 1-2 punch there. So that's the overview of Pitchbook. All right, so let's jump back over here to the main page here, and I'll just quickly, like I said, run you through some of these other ones just to kind of give you a sense of what they are, what they do, what types of information you can expect to find. So often, where I'll start folks off, and just a little bit more background. So half of any given day for me, I'm working with startups, folks who are trying to put together business plans that are somewhat based in reality and have some numbers that won't just get them laughed out of a room if they go talk to a commercial lender. So that's half of any given day. The other half is spent working with established companies that have been around sometimes for decades, and they're realizing, what? We've been paying out the nose for this type of data. We can come to the library and get it for free. Let's do that. So that's kind of the mix. But often where I'll start, especially the entrepreneurs off, is this IBIS World database. And I think that it's just us in New York Public Library are the only 2 public libraries that have access to IBIS World. It's primarily either a corporate product, so large corporate office will subscribe to this, or it's an academic library product. So Eastern has it. I'm not sure if Gonzaga does or not. WSU, UW. But what we get here with IBIS World are generally 30 to 40 page market research reports, and they're national in scope, so you can't drill down here locally and get a really fine-grained view of what's going on here at the local scene, but still, great place to just get started. Let's see here. One of my go-to examples that kind of helps tie this stuff together. I was working with a woman, this has been about a year ago now. She's been a stay-at-home mom, but now her kids are old enough and heading back to school, and she's been a personal trainer in the past, and she's thinking about opening up at a gym of her own, but specifically she wants to work with new moms as well. And so we were bouncing around looking for what's going on in the gym, health, and fitness club world. So on the very first page, you kind of get the link, you get a number of links to suppliers, who are her main suppliers, and a click here on the athletic and sporting good manufacturing world, separate 40-page report of what's going on in that space, any major players there. But then, if we come over here under this left-hand toolbar, I won't march you through every single one because we could be here all day, but under each one, multiple pages of information of what's kind of going on at the broad level, and getting down here to kind of those historical trends and some segmentation stuff, which can be really handy. I'll zoom in there a bit so that you can see that a little better. So for gym, health, and fitness clubs around the US, I think it was, it's a 37, almost $38 billion market, and 68+% of that is coming from membership fees, which blows me away. If you had stopped me out on the sidewalk and said, Mark, how much for gym membership, or for gym revenue, how much of that is made up from membership fees? I would have said 30, 40 maybe, 50 at the top. But to realize that, dang, it's over 2/3 of that revenue. So for our entrepreneur she's trying to put together her business plan, if she realizes that, dang, only 1/3 of my revenue is projected to come from membership fees, either she's going to kill it or she's just going to get trampled. Seems like those are her 2 options. Maybe she's figured out the Holy Grail, but it's really good to know this going into the process. And then similarly, she could look at that and say, oh, meals and beverages, that makes up 5.1%? No way. I'm not going to deal with food handler cards and Spokane Regional Health District and probably all the regulations that food handlers have to go through. That's a big deal. She's like, I'll have a cooler in the corner with some water and we'll call it good. One last thing to call out here. And this might be helpful as you're going in to work with particular lines of manufacturing. So we could pull up, you know, probably dozens of different types of manufacturers. So historical 10-year, actually more than 10 years, going back to 2000, almost 20 years. Historical look back where the industry has been, 5-year projections, where they see things going. But then if it's a big enough industry, down here under this key ratios, you get to these industry financial ratios. And this data, I'll scroll all the way down here to the bottom, it's coming from RMA, Risk Management Association. So that's a group of commercial lenders, CPAs. They take their clients' data, they anonymize it, turn it over to RMA, then RMA is able to run these averages, and they looked at the books of 208 gyms and health clubs around the US, and then they're able to say, hey, you know, average gym, they've got 2.5% of their assets are tied up in inventory. So again, for business planning purposes, if the woman that I'm working with realizes that, dang, 5% of her assets are in yoga mats and water bottles sitting on the shelf, that's a dangerous spot to be, that she's over twice the industry average. And again, that could work really well for being able to sit down with your clients and saying, hey, here are the averages, industry-wide, nationwide. How do you match up against all these different data points here? So you can take each one of these reports, just download it, dump it into a PDF, and if you're to try to do that on your own from home, this exact report right here, word for word, $925 is what IBIS World charges retail for each one of these reports. So I've had folks come in and sit down at the downtown library, open up their laptop, and 20 minutes later they've downloaded literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of these reports, and they skip out the door and they're super happy. So great place to just start exploring, kind of get the broad overview of the landscape. Other tool to throw your way for kind of broad market research types of questions is Statista. And Statista, they pull data from tens of thousands of different data sources. Anything that's publicly available, census type of stuff, they'll swoop in and pull that together. But then they also go out and they buy third-party market research data from all these different research firms. So you'll find IBIS World data tucked away in here, which kind of boggles my mind. I'm not sure how they get around copyright issues with that, but they do somehow. So let's just do a search for gyms. And we've got 376 different data points here to sift through. And Statista, it's a German-owned company, so you end up with a lot of weird international data sometimes of, you know, the number of gyms in Italy in 2019 by region. Could be helpful, I guess, but maybe not that helpful. So let's just take a look here. Number of health clubs and fitness centers in the US. So if you were looking at this as a commercial lender, you might say, all right, okay, at least that number seems to be heading in the right direction. Maybe we're hitting a saturation point, I don't know. But having that type of data just quickly pulled together for you, super handy, so that you're not just out there throwing search after search after search at Google trying to piece this all together. All this stuff, Statista, they always link out to the source of their data, telling you exactly where they found it, so you can link out to it. They allow you to download it in various formats there, so you can grab it, pull it into your whatever format you might need there. One other quick kind of circus trick search here, just to give you a sense of kind of the scope and range of what Statista tries to grab. So this is kind of separate from the gym membership piece, but I've been working with this woman here in town. She's got a business. She's developing a mobile coffee ordering app that she can white label and license to Atticus Coffee and Joe's Coffee on the corner, because Starbucks can pay the $1 million to develop a really nice mobile ordering app. Our local coffee shops, they can't, but she's like, that'd be super cool if I could just develop one that then I can just sell to all of these coffee shops around town. So that's what she's working on. And in the process of doing that, she's trying to figure out, okay, what are the demographics of coffee drinkers? So we threw that search into Statista, and we've got a 907-page Excel spreadsheet with demographic data that Statista has already gone out and scooped that together for her. So just to give you a flavor of what this looks like. So we're not looking at cocoa drinking behavior. Here we go. Coffee drinking. I'll zoom in here. Okay. So they went out and they talked to 2,034 folks who drink coffee, and they said, all right, during the work week, how often do you drink coffee? And 49% of females said every day, 50% of males said every day. But then this data, they break it down by age, they break it down by ethnicity, by income levels, by their occupation, household size, regional breakdown. And that data just goes on and on. As you scroll down the page, the number of questions that they asked coffee drinkers, tons of market research already done so that she doesn't have to walk around town with a clipboard and a little clicker asking folks about their coffee drinking preferences. Super handy stuff. All right. Next one to throw out there, and just to let you know, kind of give you a roadmap going into the next few minutes, it's really just these top 4 resources here: IBIS World, Statista, Demographics Now, and A to Z databases. Those are really the main heavy hitters for me. So as you're looking through this, you're like, oh, good Lord, we're only 2% of the way through this. I got to go. Hang tight. We'll get you to the meat of it here. All right, Demographics Now. This one you can get access to from work, from home, wherever you have your library card. And like the name implies, it's pretty heavily focused on demographics. Who lives where, age, income levels, education levels, all those kind of primary demographic data points that you might think of. It does cover the entire US, but it also does let you drill in to the local level. And you get to define local however you want. If we come over here under this geography list, you can do it by congressional districts or Nielsen marketing areas or zip codes or counties or states, however you want to do it. Super flexible. One thing that I do use a lot when I'm working with retailers is a radius search. So you can just put in an actual street address, and then when you do that, their default is to give you this 1, 3, and 5 mile radius around that address that you put in, which is sometimes really handy, but just know that you can customize that. You can say, well, I don't want 1, 3, or 5, I just want a 1/4 of a mile. We can do that. You can do a 1/4 of a mile and 17 miles, however you want to do it. But one thing that does get used quite a bit is, instead of that radius, it's more of the drive time. So we could say for a 25-minute drive time around the downtown library, there's what that region looks like. The push pin, when you do a drive time search, always ends up south of where it's supposed to, but the outside radius is correct. So I've let them know. They've got some little glitch there. But set up your region or regions however you want. Come over here to this demographics option. Then you've got dozens of reports that we could start to run on what's the average household spending on cheese and beer and wine and eyeglasses and rent, and probably thousands of different data points. Just working with a guy yesterday who's interested in opening up a brewery, and we could say, oh, come on. We could pull up a report here saying, all right, within that 25-minute drive time, the average household spending $282.96 per year on their beer and ale. So you take that 282, you multiply it by the 179,000 households, you get a number. Somewhere there might even be bagels in here. I know, maybe not. Yeah, you might fall into that fresh biscuits.
Cupcakes.
There are cupcakes, exactly. Yep, exactly. So all of this data you can download it, dump it into whatever format works best for you there. But one other report out of all of these various reports to make you aware of, and this is one that gets used a ton, especially in the B2C world or direct to consumer. These Mosaic HH, and the HH stands for household, cluster report. And Mosaic, it's a product that's put out by Experian credit reporting agency. So anytime any one of us swipe a credit card, Experian gets a ping, and they know that I was at REI last week and I bought some skis for my son, and they know that I went to No Lie the week before and bought some beer because I used my credit card, and they know my household address, they know my occupation, they know my income level, because I told them all of that when I applied for my card. So they take all of that data, hundreds of trillions of consumer transactions, and they dump every single household, you and me and everyone in the room, into one of these 71 different customer segments. So kind of the overall structure are high-income households there at the top with your American Royalty and Platinum Prosperity folks, down to low-income, tight money, tough times folks just trying to scrape by. So Demographics Now, they have kind of snapshot data of what each one of these households looks like, and a whole bunch of different data points about them, which is cool. But generally, what I suggest folks do is, if you come to the downtown library, we can get you logged in to this segmentationportal.com, which is the Experian mothership. And for some reason, Experian makes it just ridiculously complicated to get a username and password. I don't know why, because this is their sales channel for selling this stuff, so it seems to me like they would want to make it easy, but we got our username and password probably 4 or 5 years ago now. But for the last couple years, if you click on this, how can I get access, right there, it takes you to a page with a phone number that does not work. 084, I've tried taking the 0 out, I've tried replacing it with a 1, I've tried just dropping it all together. Doesn't work. I've emailed them, said, hey, you guys, this, you got something broken here, and they don't seem to care. So it's just bizarre. But hang on one second here. So I'd love to be able to just give you guys the username and password for this, but it's just a single seat license. So if Clay's using it from home, he's logged in, you log in from home, it boots him off, and then it just becomes a mess. So I have to kind of keep it somewhat locked down and have you come to the downtown branch. All right, so once we're in to this segmentation portal site, so these are all those household segments that we were just looking at with Demographics Now. So these profiles, they're national in scope. So we've got aging of Aquarius households here in town. They're also in Fargo, and they're in Oklahoma. But regardless of where they are, they tend to look and behave the same. But we can use Demographics Now to figure out that, okay, within that 25-minute drive time from the downtown library, we've got 5,831 of them. And we can jump back over here to drill in and say, all right, who are aging of Aquarius households? Well, they're well off, highly educated, getting close to retirement, they give to charities, they're investors, so maybe these would be folks to team up with for the investing club. But some of these other data points just kind of give you a sense of how to read this. So 95.8% of aging of Aquarius households own their own home. And then this number, that's an index score, so 100 is the average across the nation. So they're 50% more likely than average to be homeowners. Okay? The piece, though, that really gets used a ton is this channel preference. So that indicates, on an index score again of 100 being the average, how well aging of Aquarius households respond to different modes of advertising. So your options here are TV, direct mail, radio, texting, email, and social media. And so this is telling us that they're 53% more likely than average to respond to direct mail. But for God's sake, whatever you do, don't put together a radio spot if these are the people that you're trying to reach, because that is money down the drain. They're 99% less likely than your average household to do anything with that. So, I should mention, TV and radio, those both include streaming options, so Hulu, Netflix, Spotify, that sort of option there.
Side question.
Yep.
Are all of them like horrible puns?
They are, yes, all of them.
I've seen that aging of Aquarius. That's terrible.
It's awful, yes. But, well, maybe not so quite much so punny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Great song. I'm just
yeah. So yeah, someone at Experian, actually probably Experian hired some consultant to come up with these names. So someone associated with Experian got paid a boatload of money to come up with these 71 different titles. But some of them you kind of look at and you're like, oh, sports utility families? That evokes something that I kind of can see what they're going for there. But coming back to our gym example. So the woman that I was working with, she's like, okay, I want to work with, families that, oops, shoot, that was directly from. She wants to work with families that have a certain income so that they can afford to go to the gym, but she's looking for younger types of households. So she's like, oh, well, maybe it's these family funtastics, or oh, maybe these babies in bliss. All right, so they're in that 36 to 45-year-old range. Here we go. They're into their athletic activities. Hooray! That works really well for her. And they respond really well to social media, over 3 times the average there for social media. And we can take a deep dive into any one of these profiles. There's kind of the narrative description of how they spend their time and their money, how they view the world. But then down here under this little bar chart, it always opens up to kind of a random data point. You never know what you're going to get, but there are hundreds of different filters here that Experian is sifting through, trying to decide, are you babies in bliss or are you aging of Aquarius? And this data, it goes on and on. But if we come down here under this, how we maintain healthy lifestyles, look at our program fitness, or physical fitness programs, let's rank this. So these folks, they're 75% more likely than average to work out at a private club. She's like, sweet, those are my people. I want folks who look exactly like that. And we can click on any one of these data points, and Experian will crunch the numbers for you, and we can rank it and figure out that, well, actually the household out there that works out at private clubs the most are the Urban Edge folks. All right. Good to know. And if you can get it, text them. That's the way to go about it. So, being able to kind of bounce back and forth between demographics now, this Experian data can really give you a sense of, is there a big enough market there to try to build a business around? So those Urban Edge households, yeah, we've got a grand total of 62 of them within that 25-minute drive time. So that's going to be really tough to try to build a business around just 62 households. Even if you get 100% of them signed up, probably not going to be enough to pay the bills. All right, 1 or 2 other things to quickly call out here with demographics now in terms of functionality. So you can map all of this data. So if we come up here under the thematic controls, you can map where are the households that are buying the most cakes and cupcakes. We could show that on a map. We could do all this mosaic stuff. They give you way more options than you need. Just keep clicking until you can't click anymore. Here we go, these babies in bliss. Come on. It's getting close. I can feel it.
I want to come up with a service that provides an accurate progress bar for web.
No. Yes. So
What you should do is have a progress bar and ratio of different food to make while it's loading.
no.
So it's like you have time for a sandwich, or time to make popcorn, or time to go to the bathroom. Like that should be the way we should measure progress when loading on a screen.
Great.
Exactly. How much is it really?
So one of the IT guys at the library, we were downloading something, and he hates progress bars. He's like, there's no such thing as a progress bar. It's either it's done or it's not. And you don't know until it's done how close you are to being done.
You're beholden. Sitting there watching it.
All right, let's try this one more time, see if we can get it. Come on. Well, while it's thinking about loading, what you would see, should it load, is just a heat map gradient showing, okay, babies in bliss households, yeah, they're up on the South Hill, but man, they just don't exist north of the freeway until you get, oh, here we go, finally. All right, so babies in bliss households. The darker areas here, they're making up closer to 3% of that population. If you're in that light yellow area, you're looking at about 1/4%. So if you're like, man, I'm going to blanket the north side of town with some flyers and really target those babies in bliss folks, wasted money, wasted effort, wasted time, because they don't live there. You can use this for Google AdWords types of campaigns, where you know that, okay, I've got this pocket of folks down here in Eagle Ridge, exactly. So I only want to show my ads to households that meet this age profile, this income level that I'm looking for, and are within a 2-mile radius of that point right there.
So, but I'm judging it looks like it's broken up by zip code?
These are census block groups.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get down to individual block level, which is usually 400 to 800 households. So it's more fine-grained than zip code, yeah, generally. Sometimes they're, if you're in a zip code out in the middle of Wyoming, they're kind of the same. But here in an urban spot, they're much more fine-grained. All right, so that's snapshot there of demographics. Now, one last thing to just quickly point out here. If we jump over here to these reports, come down here to this customer analysis, this really works in the B2C world. It doesn't work so well in the B2B world. But if you're able to capture the household address of your customer base, just put that into CSV file with address, city, state, and zip code, dump that into demographics now, and then say run the Mosaic customer segmentation report for that list of addresses that you just put in. And I've got a sample here to show you. This is a woman that I've worked with. She's over in Coeur d'Alene. She's got a retail shop, and we were able to grab 300 some addresses of her customers. But then the gold here is this report that she gets at the end saying, hey, did you know that almost half of your customers are in that one segment, the 051s? She's like, what? I thought that I was reaching and serving these aging of Aquarius folks, but they only make up 21% of her customers. She was floored, and now she could say, well, who are those digital dependents? We can jump back over here, go to our types, and get down here to our 051s. All right, 25 to 30, and they're single, but they like their video games. Exactly. And texting, and also radio, which was probably podcasts. Yeah, exactly. So she can map all of that, really get it figured out who she's trying to reach. Super powerful stuff. All right, last one to show you here. A to Z. So this one's our primary business directory. covers the entire US, but again, like demographics now, it does allow you to zero in locally, and you get to define local however it is that you want to do that. I use this a ton for kind of the competitive analysis types of searches, like, okay, who are the other gyms around the area? That's a 30-second search. For finding manufacturers, specifically maybe with CFOs, so you could say, all right, let's just kind of look maybe up and down the West Coast here. So we could say, all right, we want California and Montana and Washington, but you know that you can do this by zip code, however you want to do this. And then once you have your geographic region under this major industry group, what we can do there is get it to load. I think I'm having some connectivity issues here. All right, there we go. So we can come in and say all manufacturing firms in those 3 states. And we can update that, and that tells us that we've got come on, internet.
Is there a way to filter each of those manufacturing companies by their telecom, their waste? No. What we can do, I'll show you. So we've got 91,000, almost 92,000 manufacturing firms between the 3 states. But you can drill in and say, all right, manufacturing is great, but I've really figured out that the textile mills, they're awful to work with. You know, the chemical folks, I don't like working with them because I'm allergic, whatever it is. Go through, you can slice that up however you want, and you can get down to a pretty fine level of detail to say, all right, you know, the paper and allied products, those are great, but I hate working with newsprint, and yeah, so you can go through, say, yeah, pulp mills, they smell, I don't like them. But within that, so we've got our filters there, and then under this executive title, so we should be able to come down here, say the CFOs. Let's see what we get.
So a quick question, so the filtering that she's talking about, so are those the SIC codes that you're talking about? Because that was the other side. Because
So-
I know there's 2 databases. There's the SIC codes, and then there's the, I always forget the name of it.
There's NAICS, the NAICS codes. Yeah, so those are basically just subject headings for a business. So a coffee shop will get a standardized SIC code, and ideally all coffee shops around the nation get the same code. It is a human-driven thing, so sometimes it gets a little sloppy and not 100% accurate. But you were asking, maybe I didn't quite follow the question. Were you asking to be able to break it down by kind of more of that expenditure of, yeah, okay.
So each company is going to have utilities, telecom, and waste. So I could get, startup, you're paying 50% more than a light company like yours.
Right.
I'd love to work with you, and here's what I can do.
Totally. Yeah, I don't think that I have anything in my toolbox. I can get you to a list of 1,814 CFOs of manufacturing firms.
Good.
With phone numbers and names. Yeah, exactly. So the only thing to just be aware of is, say, if Steven, if he leaves HP and he starts working for Tesla, A to Z has a hard time tracking those personnel moves sometimes, but still, great place to get started. And you can download these lists all day, every day, dump them into a spreadsheet, and they're yours to keep. All right, last piece here with A to Z to make you aware of. And this comes back more to the consumer side. I think I might switch over to a different one. Okay, all I had to do was threaten to switch to a different network, and it seemed like it started moving along a little faster. All right, so on the consumer side, A to Z tries to keep tabs on where we all spend our time and money. So again, national in scope, but we can come in and take a look to say, all right, here in Spokane County, for this gym example, she was looking to work with younger women who are into their health and fitness, and eventually, there we go, we can come in and say, boy, things are moving a little slowly here, but that's all right. We'll suffer through. All right, so we could say Spokane County and folks of a certain age. We'd say, all right, 18 to 39, and we also want the gender. To live by the sword and die by the sword of doing live searches in front of a group of people. It's I've done it enough that it doesn't really stress me out, but it's just annoying. All right, so we're looking for Spokane County women, 18 to 39, that are into their health and fitness. And we run our search, and we'll let the internet hamsters grind away for a while. There we go. There are 15,878 Spokane County women between 18 and 39 that A to Z is pegged as being into their health and fitness. So we can map this. So for site location types of questions, like where do I put my gym? Well, pull up a map of where all these folks are and make sure that you're not 30 miles away from them, because these are the people that you're trying to reach. What else? Oh, that demographics customer analysis report that I mentioned, where this one who's opening up her gym, she's like, I don't have a customer base to run through that. Well, she's got 15,000, almost 16,000 addresses that she can download, drag that over to Demographics Now, run that through the Demographics Now process to figure out, okay, are these babies in Bliss households, or who are they? And once she knows that, then she can put together a marketing campaign that's a lot more targeted. All right, so I see that we're 1 minute over. So just a couple quick other shout outs just to let you guys know. So Bloomberg already mentioned that. We're one of 2 public libraries in the nation. Wall Street financial analysis tool. It's the exact same tool that Wall Street uses all day, every day to make their trades. Business Source Complete, magazine, newspaper, trade journal, database. Gonzaga has it. So Harvard Business Review, Journal of Accounting, 10,000 other titles. Foundation Directory, this is our grants research database. You pretty much have to be a nonprofit for that to have some application for you. Gale Courses, college level classes, get 2 for free with your library card. We don't give you course credit because we're not an accredited institution, but it's the exact same platform that a number of colleges and universities use for their online education. And it's the exact same instructors, exact same syllabus. IBIS World we looked at, Live Plan, that's our business plan platform. Lynda.com, if you guys haven't used Lynda.com, or if you do use it and you're paying for it, stop doing that. Because we've got the full platinum grade subscription to Lynda.com. It's owned by LinkedIn, something like 13,000 some courses that you can take from the comfort of your couch starting tonight. And want to figure out how Google AdWords works? There's a 4-hour-long course in Lynda.com, and they just march you through it. Morningstar, more stock and investment research. Pitchbook we looked at. Pronunciator, should you need to expand to Mexico? Need to learn Spanish? There's your language learning tool.
Mexico's expand us.
It could work either way. Actually, the way that this ended up here on this SpokaneBusiness.org is that I worked with the county library system to put this page together, and they're working with a lot of recent immigrants who are starting up their own business. So they were getting questions from established businesses here in town saying, hey, there's this new taqueria that we're trying to sell our product to, but we can't communicate well with them. We need to learn Spanish so that we can go sell our stuff to them. And we're like, oh, well, we've got this language learning thing. I guess it has a business application. Sure, let's throw it up there. ProQuest, Magazine, newspaper, trade journal database, so it covers the spokesman as well as the Journal of Business going back to the early 90s. Reference USA, that's the precursor to A to Z. The county library, they kept their subscription. We jumped over to A to Z. A to Z, I think, does a better job on the consumer side. Reference USA does a better job on the business side, so it works out pretty well. We get them both. Statista, and then Washington State legal forms. That's pretty self-explanatory. So now we're only 4 minutes over, so I'll stop there, but yeah.
4 minutes late. So.
Oh, that's true. That's right. I'm exactly right where I need to be.
Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you. So, you guys have my contact info. If you want to take a deeper dive with any of these tools, let me know. My goal is to drive the cost per use as close to zero as I can possibly get it for everything that we offer. That makes it really easy for me to go over to City Hall and say, hey, City Council, let's keep doing this. It's working out really well. And one last parting shot, if there's something that we don't have that you think, man, if I just had access to whatever it is, let me know. Because this isn't set in stone. And if there's something out there that would benefit your business, there's a good chance that you're probably not alone. And I can go knock on some doors around town, find some other folks who could use whatever it is that you're looking for, and try to put together some sort of group purchase where the library acts as kind of the crowdfunding hub, and then we make it available to everyone. Everybody wins. That's my job. So I will stop there, but I'll hang around here for a bit. So if you guys have other questions, shout them out. Feel free to hit the road though. Thank you.